Today we will read the poetry The Violet by Jane Taylor. Through this poem, Jane Taylor wants to emphasize the need of being humble and polite. And just because a person or an object possesses beauty, that should not make that person or object proud of it too. There should be a balance between beauty and humility. Let's begin the poetry. It's made up of 4 quatrains, and I'll be reading out the poetry stanza by stanza. Let's look at the first stanza. The poem opens with the verse down in a green and shady bed, a modest violet grew. Here the word modest, it means simple, or in other words, you can say not talking too much about your own abilities. The poet spots the modest violet which is trying to hide itself by growing in the shaded part of the valley, shady bed. Its stalk was bent, it hung its head as if to hide from view. The flower is trying to hide itself by growing in the shaded part of the valley, with its bent stalk and head hung low. The flower is doing this as if it is shy of all the admiration it attracts. It doesn't want that people should admire its beauty. All these qualities of this beautiful flower violet signal that how humble or modest this violet flower is. Moving on to the next stanza. And yet it was a lovely flower, its colors bright and fair. It might have graced a rosy bower instead of hiding there. Bower, it means a leafy and shady place in a garden. The poet emphasizes that although the violet grew in a shaded part of the valley, with its head hung low and bent stalk, and didn't want others to notice it, still the poet could spot its beauty and said, yet it was a lovely flower, its colors bright and fair. Flower that the poet saw in the valley was a lovely flower with its bright and beautiful color. It might have graced a rosy bower instead of hiding there. The poet wonders that why this beautiful flower is hiding itself. She says, instead of growing in the valley, the violet could have grown in a beautiful garden where people would have come, seen, and admired its beauty. Moving on, yet there it was, content to bloom, in modest tints arrayed, and there diffused its sweet perfume within the silent shade. Here the word tints, arrayed, and diffused. Tints mean a shade or variety of color. Arrayed mean arranged or displayed, and diffused mean it means spread. The poet feels that with its beauty and charm, it could be a part of a rosy bower, flaunting its beauty. Yet there it was content to bloom in modest tints arrayed. Yet it chooses to always bow down and spread its perfume in that silent shade by showing humility, and there diffused its sweet perfume within the silent shade. Its sweet perfume is unnoticed by others because that place is silent. Nobody notices the beauty, and the flower is pretty okay with that. Then let me to the valley go, this pretty flower to see, that I may also learn to grow in sweet humility. Here the word humility means modesty, or not being vain or proud. The poet is touched by the modesty of such a beautiful flower and decides to go to the valley to see this beautiful flower, that I may also learn to grow in sweet humility. Actually, she wants to learn the lesson of simplicity from these flowers so that she too may learn to grow in humility. Here, humility brings about another theme of the poem. It can also be assumed that beauty is a less important factor in life than humility and modesty. Let's discuss the poetic devices in this poem. Poetic device is a technique that a writer uses to produce a special effect in his writing. We can find personification here. Personification means to give human quality to an object or a non-living thing. Example of personification from the poem is Pretty Flower. Here the poet has personified a flower by giving human quality of beauty to the flower. And the rhyme scheme of this poetry is: down in a green and shady bed a modest violet grew. Its stalk was bent, it hung its head as if to hide from view. The word bed and head are rhyming with each other, so here we can write down A, and grew and view are rhyming with each other. You can see B here, so the rhyme scheme is AB, AB. And theme, or you can say central idea of the poem is: actually, through this poem, Jane Taylor wants to emphasize the need of being humble and polite. The man should learn modesty and contentment from violets, because despite of their dazzling beauty, they are content in their humble belonging and make this world lovable. To sum up, we can say the beauty of a person does not hamper in the way of their morals and values of To sum up, we can say that the beauty of a person does not hamper in the way of the morals and values of a person. There should be a balance between beauty and humility. After all, beauty is skin deep.